What's this I see over here? The two letters, SF. Is that a girl's name or is that slang for Sinn Féin? Fuck Rita!
Hello everybody, welcome to the latest episode of City Sickos. My name is Lucian Waddaly and I am in Dublin and I am joined by Hannah Friedel from San Francisco. Hello Hannah.
Hello Lucian.
What's happening in San Francisco? Any earthquakes? Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha, no earthquakes yet. Not today. But
none to report.
None to report, so.
Excellent. That's the Earthquake Report, your favorite segment on the show. We are back today to talk about girl movies. It's a girl party. We are talking about two girls. One has green eyes, and one keeps
has blue
a diary.
eyes.
She has blue eyes and keeps a diary. I would like to quote the Wikipedia page for the film, Girl with Green Eyes. Ahem. As the film is in black and white, the green eyes are never seen.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
That is hilarious.
That's a big part of it. Someone went Trinity on that Wikipedia page.
Yeah, that's why we give Jimmy Wales all of our donations. I was interested when you pitched Diary of a Teenage Girl, which I know is a San Francisco film you're very fond of, and we were looking for a film to pair it with, and the lovely Christina suggested Girl with Green Eyes because myself and her watched this about a year and a half ago, and didn't love it, but she was the only person who suggested a good suggestion to pair with Diary of a Teenage Girl, and I was like, you know what? You fucking hit the nail on the head there. I was thinking far too much about Irish films and not like weird British films made in Ireland in the mid-century, and this is like by some distance the oldest movie we've talked about yet. So I think it was a great suggestion, and having gone back and rewatched both of these movies last week, I think they are actually insanely similar in the dynamics, at least, if not in the kind of general worldview. So we're talking about two adaptations of literary works. A Girl with Green Eyes is based on a Edna O'Brien book called The Lonely Girl, and Diary of a Teenage Girl is based on Phoebe Gleckner's
Phoebe
novel.
Gleckner. Yeah, I was actually looking more into Phoebe Gleckner because I've read that graphic novel. I lent it to someone. Was it you that I lent it to?
No, I was a big Ghost World head. I don't think you ever lent. Oh, maybe you did. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have two books in my house that you loaned me, and that's not one of them, but maybe you did.
I've never been a graphic novel person, but I could read this one. She's very much in the style of Aileen Kaminsky, who is discussed in, the movie, and Robert Crumb, who's also like a big kind of San Francisco-based
I know of Crumb
cartoonist,
because
graphic novelist.
Terry Zwigoff, who made Ghost World, then went on to make a film about Robert Crumb. So they're all seemingly kind of linked in the kind of cool cult comics world, which I'm not personally in, but I've always found it interesting from a cinematic perspective when people try and bring these things to movies. And this movie incorporates those elements, as you're saying, in a really interesting way.
No, I agree. And it's very San Francisco. I mean, I know... there's a big graphic novel and like zine culture in San Francisco, or at least, there has been in the past. And, it's very, I think very much makes this a San Francisco movie on top of all the locations.
Yeah, the other fun thing these movies have in common, before we jump into the specifics of them, is that they both star English actresses doing a just about convincing job of playing, in one case American, one case Irish. I think Belle Powley wins this round of accent work. I think she is quite convincing as a you can speak more to this, but as a San Franciscan, I think that poor Rita Tushingham couldn't quite get the handle on the Dublin accent.
No.
And it's unfortunate. And I'm not a fascist about Irish accents. I know that they're quite tricky to do. There's many great actors who have given good performances in Irish films, but they haven't really nailed the accent. There's a very small number of...
It's not that tricky. All you have to do is live there for 5.5 years, and then
talk to Irish people all day, every day.
Talk to Irish people all day, every day, and then you'll be able to comfortably slip out of your native accent and into whatever I sound like right now at a drop of a hat.
The drop of a hat. There's like a very small list of... Have we talked in any other episodes about British actors doing Irish accents? I'm not sure. The two cases of good Irish accents that I can pull from the top of my head are Josh O'Connor in the movie Aisha, very good North Dublin accent, and Helena Bonham Carter in Ocean's 8 does a really good Irish accent.
Oh yeah, that was good. I don't think there are movies I can't watch because I don't think I've ever heard a successful one. I can't watch Gangs of New York. I've tried multiple times.
Cameron Diaz trying something in that, isn't she? And it's not. It's not
well,
great.
no, it's Leo DiCaprio. It's
Leo, okay.
the main, yeah. And then, oh my gosh, who else?
Well, there was a whole era there where Cruise did Far and Away, very bad. Nicole Kidman as well. Then you had Brad Pitt did The Devil's Own, very bad. Then you had Leo. Like that generation of movie star all tried their Irish movie and were rightly condemned by the people of Ireland back to never doing it again. But
how did Brad Pitt do in Snatch again? I mean, I know people.
Oh God, I think Snatch. He's trying to do a traveler thing, so it's another layer on top of Irish. I think Brad Pitt's probably actually not considered among the worst, but you know, Cate Blanchett does a very good one in Veronica Guerin. That's a movie we might talk about in another episode, so I'll save that.
Yeah.
But I think Bella Powley very convincing. Although she does have an insanely English face. That is a face that knows what Tesco is. Rita Tushingham
But she
actually
does. Have you looked up Phoebe Gleckner? They actually
no, I haven't.
Don't look too dissimilar. Yeah, no, look her up right now. And Phoebe Gleckner does a great job drawing herself in her own cartoons. She looks very similar.
I get what you mean, but Phoebe Gleckner just she might look a little bit like her, but she doesn't look English. Phoebe Gleckner has kind of like Idina Menzel, Carla Gugino kind of face. Like she looks like
her darker eyes,
Italian American kind of eyes. Yeah. Whereas like Belle Powley's real like girl you would meet in England working in a shop. Now, I think the other stuff she's been in where she plays American, like The Morning Show or whatever, it's less convincing. I think the writing in that show did not suit her American persona, and I always was like, "You're English. What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Although now I'm wondering, does she actually play English in The Morning Show? Oh God, I'm going to sound stupid.
I mean, when I saw this film before, like, you know, spending a great deal of time in Ireland and sometime in England, like, I definitely was fully convinced by her.
Well, good. Okay, that's the litmus test. There you go.
Yeah, not that. I don't know. I recently rewatched and made my boyfriend watch my favorite like terrible movie, which is Confessions of a Shopaholic with Isla Fisher. I like that
film. That's a very good film. Yeah.
It's so fun. And as someone who works in like fashion and vintage and like shopping, I'm like kind of obsessed with the messages in that movie. But her accent's awful. It's the least convincing accent I've ever heard. But I don't know. Belle Powley, I think, pulled it off. If anything, like her like teenagerisms cover up the accent work. Any you know.
True. So the main thing these two movies share is they have a young woman and an older man kind of relationship blossoming and ultimately ending unsuccessfully, and with the girl full of regret, I suppose. Diary of a Teenage Girl, much darker than I remembered it being, and much darker than most of its kind. Like, for so much of it, you're like, oh, this is kind of operating along the same lines as something like Lady Bird and, you know, a lot of modern or even like kind of, you know, period set coming of age movies. But then like the second half of this movie is like incredibly introspective and dark, and really just a lot of suffering is going on, and I feel like it's lacking in like light touch or traditional comedy, which is really unusual for a film that's, I guess, based on its title, kind of pitched right at young women and teenage girls. But you obviously saw this kind of pretty soon after it came out, and it spoke to you, I imagine.
Yeah, I'd say I saw it in maybe 2017, so I was probably 17 or 18 years old when I saw it for the first time. I think it spoke to me because her, like, her voice is so recognizable as, like, a teenage girl at that time. It was extreme. Something about it just felt like, I don't know, I had never seen, like, teenage emotions. Like, I know because watching it as an adult, you're obviously like, oh my gosh, it's kind of like, it's like these teenagerisms peppered into like these deep contemplative, you know, meditations on like love and being alive and all that stuff. But I don't know, as a teenager, I feel like I picked that apart less, and that felt very organic and very relatable to me.
She doesn't come across as particularly like naive or stupid or anything. It's more so that she has faith that these things that happen to her will be for the best ultimately, and she's maybe putting a little bit too much optimism into how her adolescence is developing in this certain way around her mother and the boyfriend. But like, she's not. I don't think that she comes across as like willfully naive, like stumbling like a deer in the headlights through this dynamic at all. She's a really intelligent character, and she's a good character for an adult viewer to latch onto, I think.
Yeah, and the movie, despite kind of pointing out how, you know, her teenagerisms and really kind of highlighting like how young she is and how naive she is in certain ways, does really respect her and respect her perspective and her voice. And I don't know, that felt really good to watch as like a teenage girl who was feeling these things.
Yeah. So she's living in a house with her mother, Kristen Wiig, and I always love when Kristen Wiig is in a semi-dramatic role. She's so good. She's such a good actress. She's so underrated, and she's never cast in movies like this, and she should be. And I don't know, where do they live? Is there any geographic specificity here?
I think they probably live somewhere, and I was actually thinking about this when I was a kid, or not, when I first watched it. I thought they lived somewhere around like the main stretch of Haight Street. The Haight Street that people know from like the hippies and the 60s or whatever, kind of was from the park, which is Stanyan Street, all the way to like Masonic Boulevard. I think it's Boulevard, Masonic. Also, okay, one real quick like aside, I work at a vintage store. We see a lot of like Mason, like Mason stuff, like little ties and tie clips and whatever. And people are like, oh, that's so freaky. And I'm like, we're literally a block down from Masonic Street. This city was built by Freemasons. Like, I
went to the Freemason Lodge in London once, and I had a lovely time. They were very accommodating.
Look, they're just there, and we live in their cities, and we drink their water.
It's the old world. You got to remain in connection with the old world.
Yeah, unfortunately. But anyway, no, I always thought they lived kind of in that like stretch, maybe a block or so down from Haight, but I think they might live in Lower Haight now. I spend a lot of time in that area these days. I don't know. It's very familiar to me.
Yeah. So her mother's big thing is that she's like, I don't know, drinking all the time. Mother smokes a lot of pot, does she? And she's like, you need to, show your body more. You need to be prouder of your, like, she's got this certain kind of encouraging her to exhibit herself, I guess.
Yeah.
And the mother has a relationship with this I don't know, very boring man played by Alexander Skarsgard, who is like as handsome as Alexander Skarsgard always is, but I think is quite dull from the first second he appears on screen. It's just kind of hanging out on the sofa and isn't like doing a whole lot. And I
think to her, she's like, he's more of a himbo type. I mean, she doesn't realize how dangerous he is, obviously. But,
exactly, yeah. And an affair begins between these two. Now, did you see? You probably didn't. I don't think it's even been released in the US. You haven't seen Pillion yet. Because this is another movie about Alexander Skarsgård in a toxic relationship where he is a domineering figure. And it's a very similar performance. And I found Pillion a very tough watch as well. It's like a BDSM gay relationship between him and Harry Melling, who played Dudley in Harry Potter. And
I know the one. I know the one.
It's pretty good, but I didn't love it. I found it a challenging watch because there's a lot of just like suffering going on, and he's just kind of making this guy's life miserable, and there's not a lot of joy or love in it at all from what I could see. And it's a very similar performance. He's really like uptight and tightly wound and like stiff and stubborn and whatever and withholding. He's probably more charismatic traditionally in Teenage Girl, but I thought that was interesting.
Do you think he's showing off his Big Little Lies?
Yeah,
side?
Maybe. I like the other side of him more. I really like him in Succession, where he plays like charismatic billionaire tech guy. I think that's the better version of him, and kind of think that's a better version of his father as well. I like his dad more when he's playing like big, loud characters in Mamma Mia, a little bit in Chernobyl. Whereas in stuff like Sentimental Value, which he's about to get an Oscar nomination for, he's like super withheld and mumbly. And I think Alexander is also not at his best when he's mumbling. I think those are two actors who are really fun when they're being gregarious and not as fun when they're... I mean, they're hardly going to be fun, but like...
Yeah, they either let Alexander smile and he's fun and gregarious, or he doesn't smile the entire movie and beats people.
Yeah. And I struggle with a performance with someone who doesn't smile the entire movie. If he's gonna beat people,
and with
he should.
Stellan, I think my favorite performance has to be obviously Nymphomaniac Part 1.
I haven't seen either Nymphomaniac. I need to watch those.
Ms. Charlotte Gainsbourg mentions some number sequence, and he says, "You know that's a Fibonacci sequence."
People should
Best
look up the
movie. No,
Stellan
just kidding.
Skarsgard's character poster for Nymphomaniac. Is one of the greatest character posters a movie
He
has ever
doesn't even have sex in that movie. Anyway.
Well, the poster is just a Stellan Skarsgård orgasm face in extreme close up. It's magnificent. I might get that printed and put it up in my house. I haven't even seen the movie, but
you wouldn't like it.
I probably wouldn't like it. The relationship between these two carries on, and she is up to other stuff on the side with her friend, and like, I don't know, are there any key scenes in this movie that are either interesting to talk about narratively or in terms of how they depict the city that you can think of?
Well, the very first opening scene, I realized, where she's walking over what we call now Hippie Hill,
right?
Because it's where people kind of just hang out and smoke weed. It's like pretty close to Golden Gate Park. And she says, like, I had sex today, holy shit. And she's just like seeing the world in this different way. I take that walk to work almost every day.
Okay.
And it's I think about that a lot, actually. And I think like lately, before rewatching this movie, I kind of thought of that, and I was like, oh, how like stupid, and, you know, to find joy in this dark movie is like so naive. But I don't know, rewatching it, I'm like, it's a fantastic, I really like it. I still there's something really important about the growth that she goes through. And I mean, even just like the small joy of her celebrating, like having taken this step, even if it's like the darkest fucking thing ever, still sort of resonates. And then also at the very end, when she's at Ocean Beach, which is an interesting area because it used to be sort of like, there used to be like an amusement park and like a playland, and there used to be the Cliff House, which was like this beautiful, and there used to be Sutro Baths, which was like a bathhouse sort of all along the coast there, you know, facing the ocean, not the bay. But by 1976 would have been probably pretty recently stripped down. And she's selling her zines, and then she says, like, I'm better than you. And I don't know, I think that was like such a perfect place for, I don't know.
No, I agree. Who plays her friend? Because the friend is very good. Well, I guess
the friend is very good.
There's multiple other girls she's hanging out with. There is Madeline Waters, who plays Kimmy, and Margarita Leviva, who plays Tabitha. Mm-hmm. And then Christopher Maloney also shows up as her father? Question mark.
Oh, is he the stepdad?
Is he the stepdad or is he the dad? I can't remember. Is he on the phone to her at one point?
Yeah, no, I think that's her stepdad.
Okay. Interesting. Does the graphic novel? So sorry, what was the name of the other author that you mentioned that is incorporated into the narrative of this film? It's
Aileen Kaminsky, and she calls her Aileen Kaminsky, but she did become Aileen Kaminsky Crumb because she married Robert Crumb. That was in '78. Okay.
Interesting. Does Aileen Kaminsky appear in the graphic novel of this?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's interesting, yeah. Well, because the movie of Ghost World doesn't have... Sorry, the author of the book, Ghost World, is in the book as a character, but he doesn't show up in the movie. In the movie, they just kind of swap him out for the original Steve Buscemi character and have a similar interaction with him. So I do find it interesting of like having a real-life person depicted in your book and then trying to bring that across to the movie. But like this obviously does a really good job with it, regardless of whether she's in the book or not. I'm trying to think of other interesting spots she goes. I remember you brought this up to me when I was visiting because we were down by the beach, and you said, "Oh, they go here in Diary of a Teenage Girl." And
yes, that was the Ocean Beach scene. I was also looking at all the apartments. Seem super like her apartment. I think it is like one of these duplexes around Haight. It's so that it's got like the bay window and the built-ins and all that, you know, fun San Francisco interior architecture stuff.
Yeah.
And then Monroe's apartment, I'm pretty sure I have a friend who now lives in Twin Peaks. We have an area of San Francisco called Twin Peaks. Mm-hmm. And I think it's quite similar. It's, big window facing the entire city. It's kind of amazing that some like schmuck who wants to sell vitamins could afford such a place in 1976. But
Outrageous.
Outrageous. And then at one point they go to like, I guess it wouldn't have been Sausalito because you can see the bridge from it when they're looking at the boat. Okay. But I'm pretty sure I was curious about that because I was like, is there anything in that area? I don't know if there's like a boat lot or anything out there. But yeah, there are areas where you can live on a houseboat in San Francisco.
Oh my God, I would love to live on a houseboat anywhere, but especially there.
It's fabulous. Oh no, it's fabulous. I go out to where I go to the doctors in this area called Mission Bay. Mm-hmm. And if you walk around that area, there's like an inlet where there's these giant houseboats that you can, I don't know, it's such a dream.
I'm trying to think of any houseboats. I know friends of friends in Ireland who do have boats that they live on, but I'm trying to think of anywhere in Dublin that you can just see houseboats. I know Manchester has like a dock where there's a lot of houseboats, which is a funny place to have it, but it's really cool.
I suppose that makes sense though. Mm-hmm. The whole thing of the mom being who she is, and also I noticed there's this backdrop of them sort of litigating the kidnapping or like Patty Hearst.
Okay.
And throughout the mom is kind of making comments on like, is like her agency or her, you know, the extent to which she's like, oh, she's been brainwashed, or she like is going willingly, or she's this girl who's like fallen from grace and for this or this or this reason. And I think, maybe I'm like English teachering it a little bit too hard, but I'm like, oh, that's very, kind of right under her nose. Her daughter is experiencing the same struggles, but it is such a Bay Area thing, I think, to feel like you're at that time to be like, oh, I'm escaping from the shackles of my rich family. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what the mom is supposed to be. Like, I did not grow up with people like that. By the time I was born, the city had been so yuppified. My parents come from the East Coast, total, different sensibilities. But at this time, just way more casual parent relationships, like way more relaxed, and people exploring different ways of parenting. And I definitely had friends whose parents were kind of like that. So it's it's very San Francisco and very Haight Street, what this movie's depicting in terms of the relationship between Minnie and her mom.
Mm-hmm. This movie was directed by Marielle Heller, it's her first film she directs and writes, and she has made 4 movies in the last 10 years, and they're all like big movies. I've seen 3 of the 4. So she follows this up in 2018 with Can You Ever Forgive Me, which gets Melissa McCarthy and Richard E. Grant both get Oscar nominated for that. I didn't like that as much as I wanted to. I went to see it in the cinema. My expectations been raised really, really high. Melissa McCarthy, like freaking dramatic before. Sorry, very funny. She goes from Kristen Wiig to Melissa McCarthy. That's actually really funny. And Melissa McCarthy is good in that film, but like I just didn't connect to it. It's a true story of this woman Lee Israel who like fabricated letters from celebrities basically, and
I forget who Richard E. Okay, this is so stupid. I watched this movie on a plane, which is the exact like place for it.
Yes, exactly.
It's perfect pacing for a flight. Mm-hmm. And it's so stupid. I remember liking Richard E. Grant in it, but I don't remember who he plays.
He just plays a guy called Jack Hawk, who's like a funny gay man who hangs around in the bar with her, who's an alcoholic.
All right.
I don't think he's anyone famous. Like, but he
plays that role to perfection every time.
Yeah.
He plays a version of that in Girls.
He does, you're right, yeah. That film is good. I guess what I like about it is I like the fact that Melissa McCarthy used her star power to get a big push for a movie that is ultimately like a small intimate drama about a middle-aged lesbian like doing a minor literary crime. Like that is a tiny intimate story, and Melissa McCarthy was like, I've been in 20 stupid comedies, I'm gonna get this movie a big budget and a big awards campaign. I really
you do 20 for them, 1 for you.
Exactly. I like Melissa McCarthy a lot. I wish she did more stuff like that.
No, I think she pulled it off for sure. I'd love to see her hone it.
Yeah. A year after, Marielle Heller makes another movie that's on a similar level, which I did not care for, which is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which is like the Mr. Rogers movie with Tom Hanks. And it was kind of missold as a Mr. Rogers biopic, and the title does not help that implication. And then it is actually just a movie about a journalist who travels to interview Mr. Rogers. And Mr. Rogers is very much like a supporting role, and Matthew Rhys is the lead, and I have since come to really like Matthew Rhys, so I'd be interested to go back and see what it's like, but at the time I thought it was really boring.
I just had a little brain moment there where I was like, Matthew Rhys could have played Monroe in this movie.
Yeah, he could have. I mean, look, he does the creepy thing so well on Girls. He does it so well in the most recent The Beast in Me show with Claire Danes. He's really good at that. You're right.
I'm like, would it have been the same though? Because I think that there's something about like you're watching her kind of have this crush on Alexander Skarsgård. And he's so inscrutably just like stupid and just like, well, okay, I want to have sex with the teenage girl.
But he's like sexy 70s rock and roll handsome in a way that Matthew Rhys isn't stereotypically handsome. He's like English handsome.
He is. But then also there's something, I think that Matthew Rhys, like there's something behind the eyes. Like if you were watching him and this flirtation, you would be like, oh, he's like plotting.
Yes.
And I think that in the beginning of this movie, when you're kind of seeing things from her perspective in the blossoming of this like really inappropriate fucked up romance, or not romance, this fucked up whatever they're doing, you can almost believe that he's like, I don't know, like you can project the positivity and the romance that she sees onto him because he's just so blank. Mm-hmm. And then by the end, you're like, oh my God, he's just a fucking awful, destructive idiot.
No, I think you're right. I think he is right for it. Her fourth movie then is Night Bitch, which I never saw. Which is
I shan't be watching.
It was highly. I feel like highly anticipated and highly debated, and then disappeared the second it came out. And it was Amy Adams starts behaving like a dog, and it's a movie about being a mom and how being a mom feels like being an animal. And like I'm open to the idea that it could be good. I don't know a single person who was like raving about it. I think everyone was kind of like, yeah, it's fine. And then it disappeared. Yeah. Amy Adams did not get her awards buzz that they were expecting, and that movie ceased to exist. So that's Marielle Heller. Like I have a lot of time for any female filmmaker who's able to get 4 movies made in 10 years, and none of them are intellectual property. Like those are all nice, fresh.
Oh no, they're all.
Yeah, 2 of them are based on real people.
One of them, Forgive Me, based on.
They're not. Sorry, they are not original movies. They are movies based on things
they're
and
adapted,
people. I mean, one of them is a Mr. Rogers movie, but they are not traditional Hollywood films. And they're not Hamnet. Like they're not. They don't have Billy Shakes in them. I don't know. I respect that. I like Marielle Heller. I like the idea of her. And I hope she makes another movie soon.
No, me too. Yeah, and just based on rewatching this movie, I loved I was very pleasantly surprised upon rewatch. If you should return to it if you haven't.
Yes. Girl with Green Eyes, also a directorial debut for a guy called Desmond Davis, who would go on to make the original Clash of the Titans, a very different type of film.
Oh, that's what male directors get. You
exactly.
You get your girl with the green eyes, and then
you do your big blockbuster. Exactly. Even in the 60s. This is from 1964, and it is based on the Edna O'Brien novel. Now, I've never read any Edna O'Brien, which is pretty bad, because she's one of the big Irish authors. I believe there was some snarkiness about her in my home growing up, as there typically was with any Irish author who focused on rural living and kind of like maybe a little bit of sentimentality. Although I would say that Edna O'Brien generally seems a bit more venomous towards old Catholic Ireland, but like any Irish writer who focuses on people who come from the countryside and go to church and their lives, I think in my home growing up, that was kind of sneered at in favor of Beckett and Joyce and more urban stuff. But she died last year. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think that this film really brings that into sharp focus, like the city intellectuals. I got to say, so I mean, I've mentioned it several times, but I, obviously when I came over, like we get all this, there's this like American, orientation of like, oh, like, these are like some Irish cultural touchstones, and this is, things you should kind of know, which it was very poorly put together. They should show this film. They should show this film so that people from Trinity know what I think this is like exactly what people think of people from Trinity. Mm-hmm. It's important to show like this specific cultural tension and how fucking annoying, like you just need an example of who not to be. Yes. And it's some of the people in this film.
It's proto Sally Rooney, and I don't mean to like be dismissive or for that to be like a very obvious comparison, but it is a story about like a young person living in Dublin getting into a funny relationship. I do think that if anybody is getting into the modern Irish literature that reflects this world, they should go back and watch this film and read this book probably. And this film is like completely forgotten. I stumbled upon it by accident, despite it starring two actors I really love and it being shot on location in Dublin. And it's good. It is pretty good.
It's beautiful.
Edna O'Brien died last year. She was 93, and she was the subject of a documentary that came out last year called Blue Road, in which her letters or her diaries or something are read by Jessie Buckley in narration, and it was directed by Sinead O'Shea, and that was the highest grossing Irish film of the year, I'm pretty sure. It was the number one Irish film of the year in the Lighthouse and in the IFI. It did really, really well with like Irish Times, Lyric FM kind of demographic. Like there is a lot of love for Edna O'Brien in Ireland now among like middle-aged and older people and many young people, I'm sure, as well. But I've just never read any of her stuff, and I really need to, because she's clearly tapping into very forward-thinking ideas here about young people and about the changing world. And this movie is very progressive.
I mean, it literally ends in an emigration. I mean, it's very, very relevant.
Very relevant. And so two of my favorite actors from the era are in this. Rita Tushingham, I know almost exclusively from one film, which is called A Taste of Honey, which is a really classic British kitchen sink drama from around this time. And that's a film that deals with homosexuality and abortion and single parenting and all these things in modern England of the time, and it's a beautiful film, and she's amazing in it, and she's frankly a lot better when she's able to do her own accent, and she's got such a good face. Like nobody in movies looks like Rita Tushingham now. I know loads of people in real life who look like her, but nobody in movies does. She's got so much character.
And she is working the shit out of that face in this movie.
It's incredible.
She's doing the
she's
doing
brilliant face. And then Peter Finch, obviously, I love from Network. It's about 10 years after this, which is his like final movie before he dies. He died very young, and he's in a great film called Sunday Bloody Sunday, where he plays, which is I guess 60s or 70s, and he plays a gay man in London. And I was watching this film thinking, was Peter Finch gay in real life? Because I think he seemed kind of gay. And then I looked him up, and he actually wasn't gay, and he was involved with loads of women. But like even in this film where he's playing a slightly, slimy straight man sleeping with a younger woman, I was like, there's something a little bit gay about this guy, which I think is interesting. And I wonder, is that an intentional?
Do you think that's just being British?
Is it being British in Ireland, maybe, or is it an intentional choice with the performance? That time? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But she's living in this movie in an amazing part of town, which is like she's down in
Kappa, right?
No, she's down by the canal on the south side by Pepper Canister Church.
Right.
At the top of Mount Street, or what's that street called? Do you know where I'm talking about? So basically, this is if you were. This is up the far end of the canal on the south side. So you're talking
let me look at a map.
Bagot Street, between Bagot Street and.
Wait, I do know.
And the Grand Canal Dock. There is a stretch of canal there that has Pepper Canister Church. There is a Starbucks. There is a statue of Sean O'Casey and another playwright somewhere along there. There is a lot of seating. There is an Italian restaurant that faces out on the canal. There's sometimes
Mount Street Crescent. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like down there. If you identify that church, that's where it is. I can't.
It's sort of adjacent to Rings End.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's more like Marion Square kind of area. I love this part of town. I really, really like it.
I think this was so north. I think I just keep misidentifying the churches.
Sure. No,
because I think everything is that church in Phibsborough. Yeah.
Yes. No, she wasn't in that particular area, but she's in this area, which I really like. And my favorite thing that I did was I watched this movie in work last week, and then they were walking down the quays in the middle of town. They were between Westmoreland Street and Temple Bar along the river on the south side. I was walking back to work then on my lunch break about 15 minutes after watching the scene in the movie, and I walked along the exact same stretch of path that they're on, and I was like, this is the life. I'm following in the steps of Peter Finch and Rita Tushingham. This is the shit. Rita Tushingham, it must be said, still alive, doing well. She popped up in the movie Last Night in Soho a couple of years ago, which was Edgar Wright weirdly paying tribute to 60s British cinema by putting Rita Tushingham into some. I haven't seen it. I couldn't tell you who she plays, but I know she's in it.
because I know Diana Rigg, famous. That's like
Yes,
her last role.
That's her last role. Yeah.
Is obviously the house
Sure.
landlady, but
Right.
God, who was Rita Tushingham?
She's in there somewhere.
Anyway, no, and she looks quite recognizable.
She does.
Her face.
She's actually kind of looks
she's still
more
working
normal. She looks more normal now. I feel like she's kind of like lost a little bit of her character. She does now look a little bit like someone who'd be on Coronation Street, but that's not.
Does she have green eyes in real life? Do you think they made the whole thing in
Imagine
black
if you
and
cast
white?
someone who
Because
didn't have green eyes. It would actually be such a
low
horrible.
key. Wait a minute.
Look her up.
Does she? Yeah.
But it's funny, yeah. Edgar Wright put her in that, and then M. Night put Hayley Mills in Trap, which is like such a funny little moment of like '60s English child actors being suddenly brought back. But I respect it a lot.
She has blue eyes.
Fuck that. Her character in this movie is called Kate Brady. Now, I have a dear friend called Katie Brady, and then I have another acquaintance called Kate Brady. So this is kind of the most default Irish woman name you could possibly come up with. But the idea is that she's from down the country. She moves up to Dublin, immediately gets herself into trouble by getting involved with this fancy man who lives up in the hills.
But she doesn't move alone, does she?
No.
She has her friend
Baba Brennan, who is played by
Lynn Redgrave.
And they basically go up the hills to the Wicklow Mountains, and they meet this fancy man called Eugene Gayard, and he has a woman who cooks him potatoes and cabbage, who he gossips with, but he's single and he pursues Kate, and
she pursues him.
But they end up
also. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the way they get to the Wicklow Mountains is their random friend is like driving across O'Connell,
he's
the bridge there,
bridge, and they just hop in his car.
Then they're
so funny.
and they hop in his car, and he's like stopped in the middle of all the traffic, and you can see a bit of O'Connell Street like going north, and you can see how like skinny the sidewalk is, and what a fucking thoroughfare it is.
It's great.
It was very cool.
There's two Irish actors in this pop up briefly that I love. First of all, Eamon Morrissey. There's a guy she goes on a date with who has like a big funny face. That's Eamon Morrissey. He's still around. He plays Cass on Fair City to this day and is a great Irish actor. And then the great David Kelly plays a ticket collector, and he's of course the grandfather in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake, and he's in loads of stuff. He's an amazing Irish actor. So fun to see them. But the relationship it never gets as dark as Diary of a Teenage Girl does, because it is a 60s movie.
I mean, and it's barely like at all sexual.
No,
like,
exactly.
I mean, they're very chaste. Yeah.
But it is interesting. There's a whole thing about her being, he's not religious, and he's just like he's a kind of a sophisticate in a way that she's very rural, and obviously the novel probably goes deeper on this kind of like country girl struggling with dealing with this very Englishy fancy man.
Well, I'd love to. Honestly, it does make me want to read the novel, because I think that obviously this is a British production and most of these people are English. And there is, I think to this day, like a tradition of, obviously they make anyone from the country, they do kind of ridicule people who are like, oh, we went to the countryside and how like wild and savage it was or whatever. But they do treat her father and her family. They make them look quite,
the father is ridiculous. Like, and I think
it's a ridiculous stereotype, and it's a wild
mostly
stereotype.
Gets away with being an English film about Ireland, and almost gets there. And it's like most of it, you're like, oh, this is pretty. You're treating us like intelligent, functional people. And then yes, you're right. Her father shows up.
But it does remind me. It reminds me of the movie Wonder with Florence Pugh about...
Oh, the Wonder, yeah. You know who's in that movie?
Wonder?
Kieran Hines, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Anyway,
I bet he played...
He plays...
I don't know.
He plays one of the men who sits at a long table judging her, along with other friends of the show, David Wilmot and Brian F. O'Byrne, two of my boys.
Oh, very good. Friends of the show. But no, I think that movie ends up being like, oh, look at these rural Irish people who've just suffered a famine are such... like crazy, stupid idiots.
Yes. But sure, if Girl with Green Eyes was made today, Florence Pugh would be playing the role. We all know
and that movie was made in like fucking 2018
2022.
2022. Yeah. And I don't know, it definitely is quite stark in this one. Like she's constantly, any scene with her father, And even any scene with her friend, you're kind of meant to be like, oh, these provincial people are so, you know.
Oh, the father is
small world.
he's a gobshite, and he's like, oh, my daughter's getting into trouble. You have to come home with me in a way that's cartoonish. He's a bit.
And then
Mr.
even
Krabs,
exactly. And then like even they're at like a dance hall, and like some guy starts talking to her and just like rattling on about God knows what. And it's meant to be like, oh, the Irish fellas are like not as sophisticated or smart or interesting as her potential English love interest.
I'm seeing here, this movie was released exactly 1 year to the day before my mother was born. Very funny.
Oh, wow.
Her birthday the year before she was born. That's mad.
Your mom's born in 65, so was mine.
Yeah, really? Very good. And interesting. May 65. This is no, it's good. It's a good watch. I think it's worth watch. I don't think it's fantastic. I think if you're going to watch one Rita Tushingham 60s movie, watch Taste of Honey, which is like kind of the 10 times better version of this, just because the filmmaker is handling material he understands a bit better probably. But I think this is definitely worth a watch. And like Edna O'Brien did not get adapted for film much, if ever, again. So like in terms of exposing yourself to her and kind of what her shtick was, I suppose, like I'm trying to see here, like Edna O'Brien film adaptations, because I would like to learn more about her and the stuff that she was up to.
Oh, certainly. She or I don't know. I actually again, when I was studying, I kind of stayed away from a lot of like traditional Irish literature and stuff because I figured I wouldn't be as good at it, and I think I'm correct in that. I'm not trying to be in some class and like talking over Irish students, but like I should be honestly reading more of her.
We all should be. There's a film of The Country Girls with Sam Neill, and there is a film of The Hard Way with Patrick McGoohan and Edna O'Brien herself. And there's something called Z and Co, which starred Elizabeth Taylor. Oh, let me check now. Is this based on Edna O'Brien? Surely I would have heard of this. It is screenplay by Edna O'Brien, starring Elizabeth Taylor, Susanna York, and Michael Caine. This film is called X, Y, and Z, but it's also known as Z and Company. I have never heard of this film in my life. I must investigate. That is really interesting.
That's
Edna
fabulous.
O'Brien, I was not
Just
familiar with your game. Is there a screenplay section on her Wikipedia page? This is screenplays. Oh, let's see. Is there something that's the only screenplay credit she ever had was on Z and Company. Fascinating. But sorry, most recently, she wrote a book in 2019 called Girl. God, she loved girls. She wrote Girl with Green Eyes.
She loves girls.
She wrote The Country Girl, the Lonely Girl. She wrote a memoir called Country Girl, and that's separate to her novel.
Edna O'Brien's not that kind of girl.
Yeah, exactly. That is separate to her novel, The Country Girls. And then she wrote a book in 2019 called Girl, which is based on the 2014 kidnapping in Nigeria by Boko Haram of the schoolgirls. That's so interesting that then, I guess, that came out in 2019. Yeah, like a then 89-year-old Irish woman was going to write a book about like Nigerian, young women suffering. So she's obviously like
she loves girls.
She loves girls, and she loves girls of all nationalities and whatnot. That's great.
I wonder if she ever experienced the work of Phoebe Gleckner.
Exactly. I'd love to know.
Or Diary. She could have.
She liked diaries. She liked girls. There's a movie for her. Ultimately, which of these girls would you rather spend time with?
I mean, I think I'm unfortunately going to have to go with my local pal, Ms. Belle Powley, Ms. Minnie Gleck.
One of them's you, and one of them me. I mean,
no, she's not you.
I too moved to Dublin from the countryside.
I would go for
got into crazy scrapes and hijinks. I don't think I ever felt quite as and
got like antagonized by like
a silly old
British
Englishman.
assholes.
Yeah, British assholes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's my favorite. I think that's my favorite part. I'm like, the last half hour of this movie is brilliant because it's like everything crashing together.
Yeah.
Also, I love the fact that they live in this very familiar Dublin house. She and Baba.
Yes.
This, obviously familiar, but the idea that the landlady cooks you like lunch and tea.
Yes.
Oh, could you imagine?
Oh, sorry. Is there another? No, I'm getting mixed up now. What was I going to say? I think that the scene where she meets Peter Finch's friends is great, and they're really
brilliant.
stuck up. Great stuff.
And then I also like where they constantly cut to them having these talks on the monument in Phoenix
yes,
Park,
the
which I'm
Wellington
like,
Monument in
haven't
Phoenix
I?
Park. Yes.
Yeah, haven't we all had like a deep conversation at the Wellington Monument in Phoenix?
Oh, that's
Park?
such a good spot to shoot a scene for anything. I don't know why more movies don't have scenes set there. That's such a great location.
Yeah.
Like,
but they also reference, like, at one point, her friend says, like, a couple of girls got dragged into Phoenix Park, as if it's, like, a place where
right.
like, assaults happen.
Jesus, okay, yeah.
So it's really interesting and dark, and it's, like, it'd be interesting to look into, like, Phoenix Park, and, like, you can spend...
It's the only park in Dublin
is.
that you can kind of... Well, there's a few out in the suburbs, but it's kind of the biggest park in Dublin. Well, obviously it's the biggest park in Dublin. It's kind of...
You could disappear in Phoenix Park. It's huge.
Yeah, it's the one place in the city centre that you can just go in the middle of the night and there's no gates, you know? It's just there to be roamed into. Like.
Certainly. It's not like... It's so different from, like Grand Central Park or even well, not so much Golden Gate Park, but kind of, because there's fewer roads going through it.
Yeah.
And there's, like... it's not like there's museums or like official sites where people are working in the middle of it. There's just
it's such
like,
a weird place.
Land.
It's such a weird place because it's right on the
really
edge of the
weird.
city and it takes you all the way to the country. Like, and now I live quite close to Phoenix Park and I live on like the suburban kind of
Crumplestown.
North Crumplestown, yeah. Rumpelstiltskinstown. I live on the north suburban end of Phoenix Park. But if you go all the way west, you're basically in fucking Kildare at that point. Like that is
Lucan or whatever.
You're in Lucan. Like that is a park that takes you from the urban world to the rural one. Oh, someone needs to.
Yeah. Someone needs to, because I think it's definitely interesting in this because, you know, plenty of beautiful days spent in Phoenix Park, but then it's, you know, it's also plenty of, I don't know.
Scary things can happen there. When the riots happened, happened in 2020, whatever, 23, the fucking young lads were stealing shoes and they were finding empty shoe boxes and such in Phoenix Park like 3 days later because these guys had just sprinted or like scooted the whole way down the quays to Phoenix Park and like hidden in there from the guards.
Nice.
That's pretty.
I mean, you could. It's
like,
yeah.
Oh, this conversation is making me want to go to Phoenix Park this weekend.
Sorry.
And I will. And listener, I hope you enjoy this episode while roaming around Phoenix Park.
Yes, please do. I would love. I would have a conversation. I don't think I would hang out with these two ladies at once, but I think I would enjoy a lovely stroll with each of them individually.
Yes, on separate days in Phoenix Park.
On separate days, different kinds, and maybe in a different mood.
Yeah.
In Phoenix Park.
Fair.
Have very interesting things to discuss.
Very fair. All right. That's all for our discussion of these lovely girls. The lovely girls.
The lovely girls.
Lovely Irish girls. We will return soon with further films set across these two cities. Hope you have enjoyed this edition of the show. You can follow City Sickos on Instagram. And if you want to hear me waffling about other films, there are new episodes of Boy Party every Tuesday at boypartypod.com. But thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you all for listening. We will find 2 more interesting movies to pair together and be back very soon. Bye-bye.